Anchors up, sells it full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. This light right here really shouldn't be pointing directly at the camera. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm going to try and put my head in the way of it for now. That's how I'm doing. I notice these
That's
things.
using your head. That's using your head.
Unlike that joke, this tradition is new and good.
All right, we are back for another Know Your Enemy edition. This time, Sparty, Michigan State Spartans, Ohio State. Their first road game of the season, heading on up to East Lansing.
Yep.
The quote-unquote, Jared, the quote-unquote first test for Ohio State.
Ohio State's favored by 25.5. Or how solid do you want to go on that word test?
Their first Big Ten opponent.
Okay, there we go. Now, I mean, I will say that like 25 points, I think is the smallest. Is it fair to say it's the smallest spread so far this year? So there's that.
It is. It is fair to say that.
So there is
all
that.
Right. Michigan State coming into this game 3-1.
Yeah.
3-1. They're not 2-2 or 1-3 coming in. They are 3-1 coming into this game, Jared. So what? Could tell us a little bit about Michigan State here, because this is a completely different team.
Yeah.
Completely different team than what we saw last year.
Completely different. New head coach. You have Jonathan Smith joining from Oregon State. You know, he saw the writing on the wall as far as the future of the Pac-12 and said, I'm going to go join an actual conference. While you getting out while the getting's good, getting out while the, his name was still notable. Listen, and say what you want to say about Oregon State last year. Where, they had, I would say they outperformed their expectations last year. And here's the biggest compliment I can hand to Jonathan Smith. He made DJ Uiagalelei look good. And if you've watched any Florida State so far this year, or watched Clemson, that's actually impressive. Yeah. So, I mean, that's worth something, right? DJ Uiagalelei has been in college football for what feels like a decade at this point, and he's had one good season, and it was under Jonathan Smith.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
He brings with him some talented players from Oregon State. Aiden Childs, the quarterback from Oregon State. Tight end Jack Velling from Oregon State. And offensive lineman, probably the premier offensive lineman on the team, Tanner Miller, from also, obviously from Oregon State. So, he brings with him some key components. There's a lot of transfers on this team. Not a transfer, but a brand new face in East Lansing is freshman Nick Marsh, who is already one of their two best wide receivers on the team. They have two really, two pretty good wide receivers on the team. And like I said, one of them is a true freshman. The other one is Montori Foster Jr. They collectively have very similar yards. They both have a touchdown. They both have 11 receptions to 17 receptions, both about 200 yards, give or take. It does feel like Marsh might be getting more of the big plays, whereas Foster might be getting more of the possession type receptions. And, of course, Jack Velling has 12 receptions for 59 yards on the year so far. So, they're spreading it out across three guys. Quarterback is he's trying. He's trying his best. He's getting the ball around. He's getting some, but he's already thrown 7 interceptions on the year. He's already been sacked 5 times on the year. I appreciate that, Austin. And he's shooting just over 50% for the year. His running stats are not bad. Not necessarily impressive either. You look like an interception, Jared. Not sure what that means.
Yeah, so Aiden,
you talk for a second. I'm going to fix this lamp. It's driving me nuts.
Sure. So Aiden, a little backstory about Aiden. Yes, Jared mentioned he came from Oregon State, but as a prospect, he was one of the best quarterbacks. He was ranked 7th in the country when he committed to Oregon State, and as a transfer, he was rated as the 2nd best quarterback in the transfer portal this year. Now, the stats don't really indicate that much. Yeah, he is a little more than 50% completion, but 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, almost double.
Yeah,
the interceptions to touchdown ratio. Not good. That's not good. Very talented. He's a very, very talented dual threat quarterback. So, and to me, I think this is definitely a big concern for Ohio State defense, especially what we saw last year when we had a somewhat mobile quarterback for about 3/4 of the game, and made plays on his feet to get first downs when he needed to. So I'm really curious on what this defense is going to do to slow down Aiden, because he's definitely not afraid to pull back and run.
I would suggest trying to intercept the ball would be my recommendation. These are his first starts of his career. Last year in his true freshman season at Oregon State, is he redshirt or is he? I forget. He didn't get any stats, at least in 2022. He only played in 2 games in 2023, attempting a grand total of 3 passes. So this is his first real action. That has to be said. It's not like Ohio State brings in a quarterback with a ton of snaps under his belt, a ton of college experience under his belt. Aiden Childs isn't that. He had thrown 3 passes in competition in college football prior to this season. And that inexperience is showing in the interceptions. That just is what it is. He's a young player. Will he get better? That's yet to be seen.
Yep.
As Kyle said, there is talent there. And we look at the schedule that they've played so far. And Maryland's pretty good defensively. We'll say that. I'm willing to say that about Maryland. They're pretty good defensively. Florida Atlantic's Florida Atlantic. Then there's Prairie View. It's Prairie View. And then they lost to Boston College last week. In a close game, but they lost nonetheless. It should be noted that the Florida Atlantic and Maryland wins were also close games. And even at 3-1, BC isn't too bad. No, they are not. Listen, I say, and I don't know, maybe I can go back and listen to our Big Ten preview episode that we did a few weeks ago. Dare I say, so far Michigan State has outplayed their expectations. I think we were expecting Michigan State to be worse than they are right now.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah. But even if you look at their defensive numbers, I think I don't have the Pick 6 preview thing up right now, But like I remember looking through the Pick Six preview, and they were dogging their defense bad. Like position group wise, none of their defensive position groups were showing up in the they were all like bottom quarter of the league based off of Pick Six preview rankings. And if you look at their defense right now, points per game, only 19, 33rd in the country. Yards per game, under 300 at 26 in the country. Yards per play, just over 4, 20th in the country. Yards per rush, allowing only 3.1, which is top 20 in the country. Turnover margin, well, that's probably why the games have been so close. That's probably why the games have been so close, because they've been turning the ball over a lot. But at least on the defensive side of the ball, I'd say they're greatly outperforming expectations. Now, Maryland, I said before, I think that's a very good defensive football team. Offensively, Boston College, kind of the same. Very good defensive football team so far. Pretty good running team so far. They've not been tested yet offensively. Then there's Florida Atlantic and Prairie View, right? You can look at these defensive numbers and be impressed. And I am impressed, by the way. Like, a lot of teams have played just cupcakes up until this point, and Michigan State has played at least 2 Power 5 teams already, at the very least, which is more than Ohio State can say. And the defensive numbers, with the exception of yards per pass at 52, they're in the top 30 in most of the, or at least near top 30 in all the important defensive categories. Austin Snyder kicked some last week after fielding messed up and got his black stripe removed. Nice. Rough back-to-back with us in Oregon. Yeah, that's a bad draw for Michigan State. That's a tough draw for Michigan State. So, again, we can talk about how good is Maryland's offense actually, and how good is Boston College offense actually, and it's Prairie View, and it's Florida Atlantic. Okay, but still, I think these are, considering how bad we are expecting their defense to be, I would say, at the very least, they're highly outperforming so far. We'll see what happens when they play Ohio State.
Yep, fair enough. Defensively, I know we talked a lot about offensive side here. Defensively, though, they got a lot of experience. I would say if you look at their roster, vast majority of them are seniors here, including their 2 main linebackers. Everybody would recognize the name Cal Halliday.
Yep.
He's been with the program for forever here, and as well as Jordan Turner, as well. Two senior linebackers who are leading the team in tackles, and as well as defensive lineman Chris Bogle, who's also a transfer senior, leading the team also with sacks too. So those 3 are kind of leading the way with the front 6 or 7, depending on how they play their defense here. But their main player, I think Ohio State really has to keep an eye out, is safety, nickelback, wherever you want to put him, Angelo Gross.
Yeah.
Kind of all over the field. Already has an interception and a few pass breakups already for the year, and 19 tackles already as a safety. So all over the field.
Ed Woods also transfers in from Arizona State. Probably their best quarterback. So yeah, it's, again, this defense is, I would say, at the very least, outperforming expectations so far. So, congrats to the defensive coaching staff at Michigan State. Sometimes outperforming your expectations is the goal. Like that's sometimes the most you can hope for. And they are doing that.
Yep.
All right, Kyle. Anything else specifically about Michigan State you wanted to talk about? Or do you want to start moving into our predictions?
Yeah, nothing much else. I will say, I know I mentioned this is Ohio State's first road game. Here we are, end of September. It's their first road game. It's a 7:30 kickoff, not 7 o'clock like it originally was scheduled. It's 7:30 now.
Okay. Noted.
On the Peacock streaming service there. Yeah, Jared with a deep sigh back there. I can tell that was a big sigh. Yeah. Got to have one of those, unfortunately, right?
Yeah. I suppose.
But, yeah, it is Michigan State. It is Michigan State, and Ohio State should be able to take care of business here. But really curious on how Ohio State does on the road at night for the first time. Actually, in both. Was it both times? Yeah, they haven't played a night game yet either.
I don't think that's true.
Did they play a night game?
I believe
so.
No,
I don't think so. Have they?
So. Western Michigan.
What?
They're Spikes.
Okay, thank you. On the road though.
On the road. First road game.
With a mobile quarterback, so yeah. Well, curious on see how the defense responds after.
He has 95
after a lackluster weekend.
He has 95 rushes through 4 games. How mobile do we really want to? I'm just saying. Yeah.
All
right. No sun for Innis to lose the ball in, as Spikes points out down in the chat. All right.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to move into the predictions, but before we move into the predictions, I want to encourage everyone to check out thesloopcast.com. At thesloopcast.com, you can find a link. Excuse me. You can find all of our links. So if I mention a link, but maybe you're driving or maybe you're just not in a position to whatever, you can just go to thesloopcast.com and find all of our important links. Some of the ones I want to highlight are our Patreon page. You can support us for as little as $3 a month. Yes, join us indeed. You can plug our podcast feed into your podcast app of choice using rss.thesloopcast.com. Come hang out in our custom community at discord.thesloopcast.com, our private community. Our YouTube page. If you only listen to the audio version of this, there are visuals, and you can see those visuals at youtube.thesloopcast.com. And we have 2 separate merch stores. One merch store that does like Ohio State centric, not Ohio State centric stuff. That would be illegal. But Sloopcast centric stuff at merch.thesloopcast.com. But if you just want like Ohio stuff, just some merch that just celebrates the state and some cities within the state as is, you can find those at 70717071.thesloopcast.com. Here are those ads now. All right, Kyle. Let's move into our predictions.
Yes, sir. So, first one here, we have Ohio State. Player to watch in this game.
Am I going first? You going first? Who's going first?
I'll let you go first. Am
I going first? All right. Ohio State player to watch this game. I'm going to say the defensive tackles in general. I don't want to see this offensive line get pushed. I'm tired of seeing, the defensive line. I'm tired of seeing the defensive line get pushed. I want this line to become a solid brick wall that is impenetrable, and we're in Big Ten play now. And now's the time to buck up. We don't necessarily know what's going on, if Tyleik Williams is going to be back this week or not. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter. We should have, the plan at this time last year was that Tyleek wasn't even going to be on the team this year. So if you don't have people to fill in if Tyleek can't play, that's a fuck up, quite frankly. So Tyleek or not, the defensive line, but especially the interior defensive line, needs to really solidify and, at the very least, stay grounded, stay in place, don't get moved.
All right, I think it's a name that's repeated almost every week, but I'm going to say him for the first time here. Sonny Styles. I have Sonny Styles on the defense side here. Sorry, I thought Jerry was going to react there. Yeah, I know. I feel that Sonny Styles is going to kind of have to really keep an eye out on the quarterback just to keep him in check there. And with the athleticism that Sonny Styles has, I think he's going to play a key role in keeping Aiden in check.
Good call. Our guest picker this week is the infamous Sun Card. Who does he have as the Ohio State player to watch?
He says here, I have a feeling this will be the week that Brandon Ennis gets some solid first team reps and scores a touchdown. Now the question is, what kind of touchdown?
Kyle desperately needs a punt return. It's getting bad.
After what we saw last weekend, I'm not putting any money down.
All right, Kyle, enemy player to watch. Who do you have as the enemy player to watch?
Mention his name. I'll mention it a third or fourth time here. Aiden Chills. Like he's going to be the difference maker for Michigan State Childs, excuse me.
I think so.
To keep him,
but what do I know?
To keep Sparty in the game here. They're going to have to score points, and they're only going to score points if they can keep these drives moving, and it's going to be off of the feet, off of the quarterback.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I like both of their wide receivers. I like the true freshman Nick Marsh. Montori Foster Jr., however, it seems to be the possession guys that sometimes get the best of Ohio State, not so much the big play guys. It seems to be more the underneath, multiple reception type of guys that get under Ohio State's skin at times. Don't want that happening. By the way, I don't know if we ever mentioned K'Ron Lynch Adams or Nick Carter, their pair of running backs by name before, so I just wanted to do that real quick. Roughly even yards on the year. Again, to me, it's more, going back to what I said about the Ohio State players to watch and the defensive tackles and not wanting to get pushed around. To me, that's more about the offensive line than it is the running backs, or rather the offensive and defensive lines than it is about the running backs. But yeah, regardless, I'm gonna go with Foster Jr. What does Suncard have to say?
He says, according to Chat GPT, Sparty's three best players are Nathan Carter, Jacoby Windman, and Trey Mosley. Each of which I have never heard of.
I don't know if they exist. At least not on this particular roster.
Yeah.
Here's a little thing about ChatGPT I want everyone to know. If it doesn't know the answer, it will lie to you.
Yep. Yeah, so
that's built into its programming. Yeah. It won't say I don't know.
To finish, he said it probably wouldn't matter if they had Plaxico Burress, Le'Veon Bell, Kirk Cousins, and TJ Duckett.
It would matter if they did. I hate to break that to you. That would very much matter.
So he doesn't have an answer. So we're going to move on to key matchup. Key matchup in this game.
Not at their current age. That's a good point, yeah. Spikes.
It's Ohio State stopping the run, stopping the quarterback run here. We saw a little bit of the issue before the quarterback went down last weekend. I could see a potential issue with this defense here. So I'm going to say Ohio State versus the quarterback run.
I'm going to say it's just, okay, I'm doing it. I want to do it every week. I've resisted doing it so far, but it's really feel like it's becoming an issue.
Here comes the OLDL.
But specifically,
here it comes.
Specifically the Michigan offensive line. Because I feel like when I did this last year, it was the Ohio State.
Michigan?
I said state, didn't I? I said Michigan State, did I not? I feel like last year I would always say, you did not, my bad. I feel like last year when I would do this, it would be the Ohio State offensive line versus the opponent's defensive line. This year I'm doing it the other way around, or at least this game I'm doing it the other way around. It's Michigan State's offensive line versus the defensive line of Ohio State.
All right. Suncard says here, I want to say the biggest matchup of this game would happen if Sparty decided to wear a super cool all-black uniform versus Ohio State's cocaine white uniforms.
I mean, I'm down.
Yeah. But on a serious note, I want to see Ohio State to get off the field on third down. So the key matchup is Michigan State on third in less than 8.
Suncard alluding to the fact that I've, on multiple occasions during I've had the Sloop Pick graphic up this entire show. Know your enemy. We're doing Know Your Enemy. That during many Know Your Enemy Michigan States in the past, I have made the case that Michigan State would have the coolest uniforms in all of sports if they were black and white instead of green and white. I wonder if he's alluding to that. He's one of our longest term fans. So that might be a Sloopcast lore answer.
Yeah. All right, the spread in this game as we locked it in, it has gone down. But as we locked it in, it is Ohio.
Yes.
As CBS locked them in, Ohio State was a 25.5 point favorite. I think that's down to 23.5. I think it is.
It moved, I believe. And Kyle, that is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
So what do you got for your?
My score prediction, and I'll pull the graphic back up. My score prediction has been on the screen the entire time.
I did not notice.
Yeah, I have 49-10. I feel like that's
Which
a good.
Is not a nice. Jared,
no,
that is not a nice.
I don't feel like this because the defense is better, because the offense is a little more plotting. I don't feel like we're going to hit that 69 mark too often this year. Sorry. I haven't done a nice score prediction all year. The defense is too good. I'm sorry.
That's fair. I had a very similar score as well. Not a nice score either, but I had Ohio State 42, Sparty 10.
And what does Suncard have?
He says the spread I am seeing now is 24.5, and the Bucks cover because the big logo on MSU's jersey gives Ryan Day full permission to put the pedal down. 45-12 for the good guys.
12 is an interesting prediction.
So out of the end zone and only field goals then.
Or like some failed 2-point conversions. Or there could be a touchdown, a safety, and a field goal. I mean, there's a few different ways to get to 12 at least. It's not a super common final score, though.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Austin, that's my answer. Be careful. You almost said something nice about me by agreeing with me. Don't make that a habit now.
All right, so Suncard here says, I believe, in related to how he feels about how the game will go. He says he believes this game will be short, with Ohio State choosing to run the ball 2/3 of the time. Sparty will have trouble moving the ball, but will manage 4 field goals. Well, there you go. The reason I picked Michigan State each season is because between 2010 and 2021, they were the team that has taken the most from us, and I haven't forgotten about it. Also, when I look at my watch and it says 17-16, I am daily reminded of how we barely beat them in 2012. That was one of the most nervous games as a Buckeye fan.
I'm just gonna say, Suncard, I appreciate that you keep your watch on a 17 on a 24-hour clock. That's it. That is literally the entire observation I have right there. All right, Kyle. Now, does that mean, so we obviously all picked Ohio State to win. We all picked Ohio State to cover. We have one more feature to do on the show. That is Austin's over-unders. And we will do that right after this quick ad break. I'm not going to do the whole spiel. Just go to thesloopcast.com to find all the links to all the other things. There's some t-shirts on the screen. There's some more t-shirts on the screen. Check out that stuff. Here's that ad break now. Austin warns us that the Austin over-unders are wacky. They are wacky, he warns, and I believe I saw in a different channel that he said he has his most convoluted one yet. Was that the word you used, Austin? Convoluted? Yep. All right, just one of them super convoluted, though. Just one of them. All right, Kyle. What's the first one?
All right, first one for Austin's over-unders, wacky edition, he says. Ohio State players with a reception. So different.
Yeah.
Ohio State reception at 7.5. Seems high.
That does feel high. I mean, we could go 2 running backs, a tight end, 3 wide receivers gets us to 6. A 4th wide receiver gets us to 7. I mean, it's not ridiculous. We've had 8, 12, and 6. Yeah, but we've had 8, 12, and 6 in games in which the backups came in pretty early. And I do expect to beat Michigan State pretty easily, but I don't necessarily expect the starters to be out on the second drive of the third quarter, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go under here.
Yeah, Austin always coming up strong here, finding these really interesting numbers. So if I look historically at the past few games against Sparty here, he's onto something. Like Ohio State against Michigan State over the years has thrown the ball to quite a number of players. Last year, 9 players last year, and the year before that, 9 as well. So I'll go over. I'm going to go over here.
All right.
Next up is the quarterback, Aiden
Childs. I'm pretty sure it's Childs.
I'm going to say Chili's because it's chili season now. It's chili season.
The hell it is. It's still 90 plus in Ohio right now.
I know it's still warm here as well. All-purpose yards in this game, 203.5.
That feels doable. Let's see. If we say that's like 33 rushing, let's see. If we say 33 rushing, I don't see it. I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go over. I'll go over on this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you go 33. If you go 33 rushing, that would mean like 160 passing, which is, like I said, doable. Those aren't astronomical numbers. But I'm going to go under.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. All right. Howard passing yards at 274.5.
Hold on. Really good note from Austin in the chat. This is officially the game with the most differences in your picks already, and we're 2 questions in. Kyle, this episode might determine the winner of the season-long Austin over-unders, because I know he's tracking it.
Yep. All right, Howard passing yards at 274.5. I don't even have to think about this. This is under.
Ooh, really? You're that confident?
I'm going under.
Okay.
I agree with Sun Card. They are going to want to run the ball. They're going to run the ball all over Sparty. Waste a lot of that clock there. So on the ground a lot more than we'll see in the air. So under.
Austin points out that he averages 285 a game. I already went over the Michigan State defensive stats, which are pretty good, specifically yards per pass at 6.8, which is 52nd in the country. So you could point out, if you wanted to, that's the weakest part of their defense, at least statistically so far. I'm sorry, I'm not buying in that the Michigan State the Michigan State defense is actually all that great. So I'm going to stick with the season average from Ohio State's perspective as opposed to Michigan State's perspective and go over. Awesome. Right. That's 3 for 3, buddy.
Michigan State longest field goal made distance at 256.5. What has he made so far this year?
What the hell
is the
did
question.
You just say, Kyle? You want to try that again?
Michigan State longest field goal made distance at 46.5 yards. What did I say?
You added a third. I don't know. Wow. 256. Is that what he said? I don't even know.
I have no idea. 46.5. Sorry, I was trying to pull up his numbers here. Yeah, that would have been a great kick. Yes, 46.5.
He kicked that one on the moon. Forget Jeez. Denver.
Oh my goodness. He is 8 for 8 this year.
Okay.
Jonathan Kim is the senior kicker for Sparty.
Mm-hmm.
8 for 8.
Yeah.
He under 30 yards. He's made 3.
Okay.
Under 40, he's made 2.
Okay.
Under 50, he's made 1, and he's made 2. He is 2 for 2 for more than 50 yards.
Feels like an over.
Yeah, it does feel like an over.
That being said, exactly, Austin. How many field goals do they actually attempt?
Yeah, this seems like a trick. This seems like a trick to me. I am going to go under, even though the stat says otherwise, which means I'm going to be wrong, but I'm going to go under.
I'm just leaning into the meme at this point. I'm going over.
All right. Michigan State defensive line sacks. Defensive line. The line itself, not the linebackers, not the corners, not the safeties, the defensive line. Sacks at over 1.
So this would be on Chris Bogle. He's the leading sacker on the defensive line specifically. Jordan Turner, a linebacker, also has a lot of sacks on the year, but he obviously doesn't count. Defensive line sacks. I feel like they get 1 this game, and I feel like they just get 1. And we have Fryer, who gave up 1 last week against a pretty good pass rusher.
Yeah, I'm going to say under. I'll say under for this one.
Kyle, you didn't keep the bit going. I'm disappointed in you.
I don't need to keep the bit going. Smith and Tate combined receiving touchdowns at 1.5.
I'm going over on that one. In a game that might be more competitive than we've seen so far, we might see a little bit more. I don't want to necessarily say down the field passing, but we might see more aggressive passing in this game, even if that's not like down the field aggressive. I think they put a lot of Emeka stuff on tape through the cupcake schedule. This might be a Tate heavy game, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, they're putting all their resources on Smith and on Ibuka, and then oh my God, here comes Carnell Tate.
It is hard to consistently get touchdowns every game. It really is.
We have two players.
I agree.
Unless you're Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, unless you're Jeremiah Smith and you've got 4 already for the year. 4. But I'm gonna go under. I'll go under here. Like it's if they get over, great. Great. I'm happy that I did not get this pick then, but I'm gonna go under.
Austin, that's the face I make when I just read the last one for the first time.
All right, last one here is Judkins and Trey rushing yards, but every Ohio State sack counts as 25 extra yards. And the number is 256.5 yards.
So if we say that's 2 sacks or 3 sacks, so 3 sacks would be like 75 yards.
I'll go
so
over.
That would take us down to like approximately 175. So, or let's just say 180. So that's like 90 yards, and 3 sacks. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll go over.
All right. We started off strong, but we are agreeing towards the end there, Jared.
We only agreed on 2, I believe. It was fun, Austin. It was fun.
And that is the last question from Austin's over-unders there.
All right. That's it. Yeah, let's just end it. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
I know that I think it was Z Spikes mentioned that Austin Snyder lost his black stripe, so curious to see if he's going to resume kicking duties against Sparty this weekend. And I think the other important thing here, Jared, is Tyleek Williams still day to day.
Yeah, I mean, we won't get clarity on that until a few hours before game time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he was a big miss in last weekend's game here, and really trying to stop them down on third down there. He was definitely really missed there. But definitely something to keep an eye out against Sparty here. But that's it. That's all I got here.
All right. All right. That's it. That's the end of the show. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a band out of Columbus called Mr. Moon. The name of this song is Mr. Jones. So the song is Mr. Moon, and Mr. is spelled out Mister. The name of the song is Mr. Jones, which is not a Counting Crows cover for the record. And that is also spelled out Mr. Jones. So we're going to play that song now. If you're listening to the podcast version of the show, if you're watching on YouTube, then you aren't going to hear the song, but there is a link to the song down in the show notes, so you can go listen to it if you want. So, with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Mr. Moon.